But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marbles. Kayla versus Allison and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory. Hello everybody and welcome back to more fascinating and interesting and engaging CVRcade World Cup racing. As always, my name is Jesper Anker and I'll be guiding you through the action as it unfolds live over the next 2 hours. We're now nearing the conclusion of the second week in the bracketed session of the CVRcade World Cup. The overall prize purse is $25,000 and it's heating up. The seedings are getting closer and closer. The tournament in the fourth week is getting closer, and the riders, they're getting in, making sure they're getting all their points they possibly can because they know that seeding is going to be crucial. Can you land on the opposite side of some of the heavyweights by placing higher up? Well, you know one way to do it is by racing more and trying to boost your points higher than the rest. Today, we've got more racing. Sony happened this morning with Team Cycling coming out in big fashion with Velocity Vixen just behind. Now, we're going to take on Echelon once more. We're going to have Submerged Stadium on the screen once more. Country Rally, a very technical course. And we finish on Lakeview Lanes. To get a word and a quick update from this morning's racing, we do have one of the podium finishers in the broadcast, Quentin Molinez. I believe with bonus points at the end of the day, Quentin, you take first, second, and third for Team Cycling Hub this morning. You've had a few hours to sit and just relax on it. How sweet of a feeling is that to clean sweep the podium?
It's an amazing feeling. We didn't set out to do that originally, but just a chain of events made it possible to achieve that, and it's not an easy feat.
In the last race, we saw teamwork really come to the forefront that allowed Nils to go up the road. In this zone, you don't have Tim Fulford, you don't have Nils Heldens, there's no Timothy Tamont, no Chris Pritchard, no Gus Baumann. What's going to happen for the Quentin Molinez here?
It's going to be me, myself, and I. And as I said before, if I somehow would win this Omnium, I'm going to sing Celine Dion all by myself.
And let's go to the backup singer, because I heard Nigel Doyle is ready to sing backup if that's the case. Nigel, we saw you on Zone T for Thursday. You were up there. It was good to see you animated. How are you feeling today, and do you know the lyrics to All By Myself?
I know some of the lyrics, but I'm not sure. Me backing Quentin would be family listening material. I don't think I can't sing, and I'm not sure Quentin has a good singing voice. Maybe he does.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Regardless, Nigel, you had Peter earlier today trying out Submerged Stadium, Lakeview Lanes. You had a few crashes. You and Ben are coming in now as CCC riders. Did you pick up some tips and tricks from watching the racing on these new courses?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the second race in race 2 on Zone E. The Uncrashable messed up, and then it was a high-skill event, and it was a lot of crashing because everyone went in expecting Uncrashable, and then it wasn't.
Well, now that it's happened, I hope everyone has done their homework and understand that could very well happen today. So, Nigel, even more of a reason to warm up and test the courses. Thank you, Nigel. Also broadcasting in today, as mentioned, Ben Shuilong is in racing his preferred zone. We got Moti Pikelny of Team Cognition ready to rip some legs apart. We've also got further up somewhere, Louis Sober and Nice, I believe, as he is in the racing as well. Moti's teammate wearing the red colors. Joining me in the commentary booth, as always, here in the Zone K is none other than Prime Racer himself, Frank Garcia. Frank, did you have a chance to watch the racing earlier today, and what did you think of it?
I did have a chance to watch the racing earlier today, and it got me all pumped up. I thought I was going to skip racing and commentary today, but I was doing some work, and I got distracted watching E, and now I'm more distracted with commentary and can't wait to race L.
Well, the best distractions do come in form of a mixer stream, as the racing was really fun to watch. What did you make of Submerged Stadium and Lakeview Lanes? What do you think as those courses are new additions to the racing?
Great additions. Beth owned Cycling Hub on Submerged Stadium, and it looked like Velocity Vixen was setting up to take the day, but Cycling Hub stormed back as Velocity stumbled on Country Rally.
It can be tough on these new courses, the new tracks, to find the time to do all the research. You can have the legs, but the tactical ability and the numbers in the end do make up the difference, as Quentin Timothy and Nils pulled one over on Carl Axel Sander. But we've got a stacked field here today. I see Beth York is back for more here in Zone K, so she had a really good performance this morning, and I think she might want to try and do it once over. Now, we don't have Racer's Edge today. We only have Comeback Kit in Echelon. This is a race specifically on this track that you won before, Frank. Are there any markers you look at to open your sprint? Because the timing we've seen is getting closer and closer amongst the front 3 or 4 when they sprint.
Interestingly, because CVRcade shows a decimal point on the meter, so you basically know when you're 200 meters out, 300 meters out, that sort of thing. I tend to use the updated real-time distance to the finish versus markers, and so I'm used to using markers, but I don't really find that I need it in CVRcade.
That is interesting, but I think that is also just a testament of how engaging the racing is, because you don't have time to look anywhere else, but very distinct and very informative, quick information that you can absorb and then make decisions. Because especially from these no-skill events, you've heard Sebastian say it's pure luck, but it's really not. If you can nail down that sprint, then you get a massive advantage. This is why we see riders like Casey, like Frank, like Quinton a few times really timing the sprint. But 1 lap to go. What's going through their mind right now, Frank?
I think they're just spinning out the legs, thinking about just get into the main group at the start. So you need to dig a little bit right at the beginning, but then just settle in, and you get a nice warm-up out of these quote-unquote no-skill events that are becoming high skill in their own nature, just different types of skills. And you just sort of sit in for a bit, and it's a great warm-up, and then the race starts proper with the moves that get made towards the end.
I think everybody right now is looking towards Moti Pikelny. He's on the screen right now. Nigel as well is on the broadcast as we watch the different races get ready. Cognition has been the team who has initiated the attack many times here on the no-skill event. They have a 1-2 punch that they've tried and tested, and it's somewhat to perfection now. It's yet to be beaten as one rider goes long and then Lewis comes second. And I think we're going to see something similar here amongst the rest. But I know that Moti's struggling with a bit of an injury, so perhaps he opts to sit in and wait. But nonetheless, 800 meters remain. Are we going to see a comeback kid here, Frank, or do you think that's out of the question?
I don't think it's out of the question, but we, CVRcade in Zone T.
Oh, here goes Moti.
Team, yeah, I was going to say, when you said, is Moti going to sit in, my first thought was no. The answer to that is no. He doesn't know how to do that. And so he's going from way out, and I think they're setting up a comeback kid here, is what's happening. Great demonstration by the CVRcade team on Tuesday night, Aaron and Jenna. I think we'll see them in the next zone, and they just executed it to perfection.
Here comes Sebastian, here comes Nigel, here comes Louise, here comes Jeff. It's going to be close to the sprint finish, but I think Jeff takes it. We wait for the official results on the scoreboard, and it is Jeff Rooney as Nigel looks on. He went from far out. Moti gets beaten as well. Sebastian second. Frank, what do you make of that?
Well, I a little chuckle towards Sebastian because he's like, this is all luck, and he's always finishing these up near the front. So that says not luck, but skill when you can sort of repeat it, and you see him moving through there very, very quickly. So nice sprinting. I think Nigel thought he had it, but some people pass him right at the end.
When you go, it's really like Nigel has this low cadence sprint style, and I'm not sure it's suited to these no-skill events. You think you've got him, but then the group comes on by. In fourth place was Nigel's teammate, so let's go have a word with Ben Shuilong. Ben, fourth in that last race, coming across the line. These events, you heard Sebastian say it's a bit of luck, Frank says it's skill. What do you make of all of this? Is there skill involved in no-skill events?
I think it's more luck, personally, just because you've got to time your sprint, but it's quite affected by the timing of everyone else's. And, yeah, quite often, you get this sort of slingshot effect, and I think sometimes it just works out well for you because you get the timing right, but you've got to start the sprint from so far out. I think it's a little bit random. I mean, I got caught out at the last session, for example. Tried to do the comeback in and totally failed. So I think you got to be careful and just not mess up, and then you generally get a fairly good position.
Now, as a track visionaire, like you literally are the one person who's created the most amount of tracks that I know of in the community. I've just seen the recent track you posted on the forums. Does it bring a smile to your face seeing the different tracks? Because I know you have a lot of fun creating your tracks, but you're now racing two new tracks that you've never really seen before.
Yeah, I love it. I love the new tracks. As I said to my teammates, the less practice everyone else has on the new tracks, the better my chances. I don't get as much time to practice as some of the big hitters. So yeah, I think we'll see what happens. I'm starting to get the hang of the country rally, so I'm hoping to have a crash-free race and see how it goes.
Already thinking of the next race. That is a dangerous strategy from Ben Shuilong. We'll go and get a quick word from Moti Pikelny's teammate Luis Sobera, and he's here. Sorry, I threw the executive producer for a spin. But Luis, racing in here today for Cognition. We saw you ease into the racing, but now every single time there's a race, we see you racing on the broadcast, in the game. Is it safe to say you're hooked?
Oh yeah, this is addicting. You always try to push yourself. There's top-notch riders. So it's like nothing else. You wanna see how you stack against all the experienced riders and all the strong riders here. So for sure, you'll continue to see me come back.
I love it. This race, you and Moti versus the rest. What's the strategy?
Well, we have Sebastian too. I think we're feeling pretty good. I know Sebastian did the early Omnium, so he has a little bit of he's a little bit tired maybe, but we're always at the beginning of the race, just see how it pans out, if there's a breakaway or not, and then we make decisions on the go. So feeling good though.
My apologies to Sebastian, he's also in here. Thank you, Luis. The racing gets going in 10 seconds time. I didn't quite catch Sebastian as he flew under the radar, despite finishing second in the last race. But that's just how close those sprints are. Suddenly, they all come right on through. But here we go, Submerged Stadium for the second time ever. And in this race, Frank, we have Uncrashable as an ability. There's a bit of a change up this morning with it being taken off, but it's now back on. How does it affect the racing with and without Uncrashable?
Well, I really think this course is odd to have Uncrashable on because you see people going through rocks. and it's not just sort of a temporary thing. They can go through a lot of rocks. So I think it's actually better when this one you can crash on this one, and so I think it changes it pretty dramatically. We saw earlier when it was off, Beth just owning a couple of people by running them into the rocks, and you'll see him sort of go through the rocks here, and this strikes me as a little bit odd, but that is what Uncrashable does.
It is. And the funniest thing is some people mistake Uncrashable for Quantum Shift because of this exact occurrence. They're so used to racing the low skill events that they're sure, well, Uncrashable ability allows me to ride through rocks. It's going to allow me to ride through other riders. And the rider on the screen right now is a culprit of doing that in primetime television. Country Rally up against the rest. He thought he could ride right on through the bots with Uncrashable. That was not the case. In this race, we do have a wind. 7 kilometers an hour. It's going to force riders to try and stay near other riders, because if you get exposed to the headwind, it's going to hurt. We see Moti on the front and Luis is on the back. What do you think of this teamwork currently on display from Cognition?
I think it's good. I think Sebastian is probably just holding Jeff off with a little bit of a slowdown here. One of the things I find interesting is that the riders are using Uncrashable. One of the things that I've started to do is, even when Uncrashable is on, is to position myself outside of the obstacles, so that when I race it and Uncrashable isn't on, so you can crash, I'm just automatically in the habit of moving out of the way. And the only time I won't move is when Uncrashable is on and I'm sort of pinned in. But otherwise, I sort of practice all the time, making sure that I'm moving for the obstacles, because it's easy to forget when something happens, as it did in the last zone, and you just start crashing because you're used to, you're like, oh, I'm going to, cycle through this, and you don't. Now, I think interestingly here, looks like Quentin was going to make a move there and try to hide in the rocks. So I think that's a really interesting gameplay aspect of Uncrashable there. So I might have to take back the interesting aspect of Uncrashable on this course.
Next level hide and seek for $25,000. That is taking childhood games to the next level, Frank. But I think we also saw an interesting dynamic from Quinton. As the road went left and right, he's taking the shorter path through every corner, and he's gaining like a good meter, a good half a bike length every single time he's doing this. This is not something we usually see riders do as we look from above. Do you think this is something we should see more of, or do you think he's just doing it to mess with other riders?
I think in the no-skill events, it's better just to sort of, stay online. But in all the other events, it's much better to sort of take the short approach. The short approach for even a shorter track. So on this one, it might be maybe 10 watts more per lane. So if you sort of rode all the outside lanes versus all the inside lanes, you'd be consuming 10 or 15 watts, maybe 20 watts on this track, because it's quite long. So you burn a lot more power on the outside lanes.
We're watching the bots come to the front. Hedy, Alexander, and Wilbur have made it to the front. We saw a similar occurrence earlier today now, as Moti is not happy with how this racing is unfolding on the screen. Nigel sits in, but Moti, Sebastian, they go on the attack here. They don't want the bots to do the chasing. They're tired of the status quo, and they're trying to break away here. But do you think that Moti would want more than just himself off the front here?
Well, I think if people are going to sit in at, sort of the 344 equalized watts that the bots are putting out, I think what I would be doing, and I think this is what Moti is doing here, is do an attack, get a gap, get 5 to 10 seconds, hold, do a VO2 max effort of 400 or 450 equalized watts, and then settle into 367, and the bots aren't going to be bringing anyone back. And so that's a tactic I use a lot, and you see here people are starting to learn that tactic and realize that the bots are close, but they won't pull back a motivated rider for sure.
Also, the power-ups make a massive difference here because you do have one racer's edge, one wind at your back, and one inertia. So in the peloton, you could let Moti get a bit of a line because you know at one point or another you can take a headwind, turn it into a tailwind, then hold inertia, and it doesn't matter where the wind direction is coming from. And then you can bridge maybe a 10-15 second gap if you utilize it correctly. And we're seeing opposite sides of the front. Quinten sitting on the front of the pack. You've got Moti and the breakaway. I'm surprised to see Beth and Sebastian sitting this far up. I would assume their legs are starting to hurt, but there's a thing to be said for also redemption and anger, Frank. Like Beth, you mentioned it before. She was up there. She did so well, but she lacked the last bit of execution. I mean, does that overrule fatigue sometimes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you want to hop back on and correct your mistakes. A lot of people do. We have physical replay in the game, so a lot of people will just go do it there. You don't have to wait for the next zone. But I always think, I love physical replay, but I always think these live events, you don't really know what's going to happen, and it's much more a test of your, sort of brain power and tactics. And you see Velocity Vixen here responding now to cognition. I expect Sebastian to do a counterattack when Moti is caught here. And one of the things I don't understand, so we sort of have two camps, and the front camp is waning, where you use your power-ups early. I'm in that camp, and then you sort of have everybody else sort of saving the power-ups for the ends, for the sort of that final sprint. But I often think that's a mistake because we've seen a lot of people use them too late, and they're not effective. But if you get a big gap here and sort of hold it, then I think that's a better application, especially if you can get teammates into the fray with you. Now, the reverse of that is if you use your power-ups and you don't stay away, well, then it gets very, very ugly at the end, basically game over. So I think that's why people tend to wait. But I like to see people get highly motivated and go out and do their stuff.
We just saw some momentum changing at the back there as Quinten and Ben got back on the group, but they slammed into the back of the group instead of gradually getting on terms. And to speak to what you were saying, Frank, we saw it in Country Rally. I mean, Carl Axel Sander was up there, was pulling incredible lap times, but never used his quantum shift, never used his weight lifted until it was too late. Same could be said for Nils Heldens. And I think something that attributes to why people wait so long is that you more often than not see the power-ups on the highlights in the end. Like, we all recognize the game-winning Racer's Edge or the game-winning inertia on Dust Bowl Crit, but not many recognize that on Country Rally, for example, the Frank Garcia wind at your back uncrashable combination is something that's won several riders victories. Like Beth and Carl did it, you do it all the time, Frank. I mean, that's gotta be said right, that people look at the videos, they look at the highlights and go, well, if they're doing this and they're getting on the video, it must be the right thing. So it'll be interesting to see when they use it and who is the first one to use their power-ups, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather win the race well before the finish line, so to speak. So that's sort of the tactics that drive me. Sort of, can we separate ourselves to the point that we're going to have a win or at least a podium position, good position in the finish, versus waiting till the end and getting in bunch sprints. You see here we've got a big pack that's moving along, and you can get stuck, you can get trapped, even if you have the power-ups at the end. So I tend to want to use them when I know they're going to be effective, when I know that I'm going to be able to get out into some space. And I think you're correct. They make great highlights when they're used at the end, but I think there's whys in the road, so to speak, tactically during a race, especially of this length. And you can often win at the why in the road. And so whenever I think that's possible, I try and implement that tactic.
I think everyone right now is looking towards Cognition. We've been on this helicopter view a lot, and that's because the pack has been so compact and so together throughout the entire thing. Physical equalization really is a thing of magic, allowing all these racers to work together on the front and also not work together if they choose to. So Cognition have got 3 riders in this front group. They're allowing the bots back up. Velocity Vixen, I think Beth is riding in support of Jeff, and you've got Ben and you've got Nigel who are trying to get good results. Quentin on his lonesome. Soon, somebody has to light it up. I would assume it would be Team Cognition, as they've got Sebastian, they've got Luis, they've got riders that they can spare to go into breakaways. And when we look towards preferred zones, I mean, Ben, Jeff, Nigel, Kinjal, and Quinton all have this as their preferred zones. So none of the Cognition riders have this. And that's why, Frank, we're seeing Moti and Luis together here trying to get off the front. But Luis really needs to step it up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, when you dangle like this, you just sort of convince Ben that he can get onto your wheel easily. And here we have a strong attack coming from Jeff. So we'll see if he tries to form up up with Modi and sort of pull away. But it doesn't look like Ben's going to let that happen.
No, everybody is so, like, they're so keen to be up here. And I think this is what we're seeing with this new course is that it's so twisty and turny and so compact that you think you can always push that bit harder, because with some of the courses, some of the tracks in CVRcade, you can see so far up the road, it's quite demoralizing. But here with Submerged Stadium, you can never see more than 1 or 2 bends up ahead, which means you've got that goal, intermediate goal to chase down, the next corner, the next corner, the next corner. And that's why we're seeing so many riders keep coming back to the group, because they understand that if they can just make it around the next corner, they're back in the front. But 3.5 kilometers remain. Yet to see a single power-up in this front group, Frank.
Yes, it's very, very interesting, and I think there's some opportunities. We're starting to get people near the hurt locker. So we got 180s. We're starting to go towards the 190s on equalized heart rate. Sebastian's already there, showing a little bit of fatigue from this morning. And or just not finding the appropriate draft with the wind, and this course going, left and right. So I think that can definitely eat into your legs. And we have an interesting play by Cognition and Velocity Vixen. Who will be the aggressor? I think victory often goes to the aggressor, and there we go. Ben's like, you know what? It's time to be the aggressor, and so I tip my cap to Ben and say he's going to take it for the day.
I like it. He's also been getting more and more comfortable on Country Rally. This could be it. It's his preferred zone, and he's got a gap of 5 seconds back. It's Jeff Rooney who is doing the pacing. I was going to make a note before Ben used it, but they also have Quantum Shift, so they're forced to do something. The second CCC rider comes across now, and if Nigel can manage to bridge at 62 k's an hour, he gets time to readjust the headset. We'll see if Nigel can get across. 3 seconds up now. Beth, Quentin, etc. They've got to work, because if the 2 yellow jerseys of CCC link up, they will take turns. They'll make sure the pace is high. But 10 seconds, I like the initiative by CCC. I commend them for it, but they've got to keep up the pacing now.
Yeah, Ben's doing it right here. He's doing a VO2 max effort like we talked about earlier. So he's going to go into the hurt locker, get to about 192, and then look to just hold it. Beth's going to try and pull Jeff up here in the move. We'll see if they're able to pull it back. And now you see everybody sort of responding.
This is literally New Year's Eve, 4th of July. Everybody with their power-ups. Quentin here is actually blocking Moti here. This is clever. Quentin is holding his power-ups, recognizing that if he can stop Moti's momentum, then when Moti's power-ups run out, Quentin goes over the top. Moti's only using it at 49 kPAs, and then he gets blocked by Jeff. Frank, the gameplay keeps on evolving, and this is a strategy I've never seen before.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and sort of goes. If we could maybe get up to Beth and take a look at what's happening there, but what you see is Beth has made it back, and so Beth is once again. I think this is her track, and so she's set up for a good win. She's sitting on Ben, and so it'll be Ben might start waiting for Nigel, but I think that's a mistake. If I'm Ben, I keep pulling, and I hope to beat Beth in the sprint, knowing that she's probably a little bit fatigued, because you want to stay away here for sure on this. What's got to be the last lap, and really get to the end ahead of everybody. And so what they've done is they've separated themselves. This is what I was talking about earlier. Everybody sort of delayed using their power-ups, and now they are separated by like 4 seconds. So Ben sort of, one of the things that Beth did here is sort of convince Ben to handhold, because he's like, hey, you need to work. But now he's letting everybody else back in to the situation, and now you see Quentin using his power-ups, and he's liable to get right back into the mix where they could have left him behind. Certainly would have stayed on the gas.
Did you see that from Nigel? No, Nigel he shut the door on Quentin. Quentin was at 60 kph with inertia on. Nigel moves on over, shuts the door. So that could be it for Quentin. We saw it on the right. Beth makes her move now. Nigel's coming back as we watch. Can Beth do it once more? Sebastian uses quantum shift a second too late and goes into the back of Ben. Beth is onto the attack. 191 equalized heart rate. She's getting away. She could be the second consecutive winner on this course in 2 races ever on this course. She's definitely found her mojo, but if Sebastian and Ben has got anything to say, Frank, they're going to try and catch up here.
Yeah, Sebastian is way into the hurt locker, setting a new record heart rate on the game, and Ben misses the block. And sometimes when you miss the block, big sprint coming out here, very, very close. Sebastian is highly motivated. So I probably take back my comment about Ben. I think he did need to rest up a little bit. I think his VO2 max effort probably put him into the deficit, and he knew he was in trouble with Beth on his wheel. So I think that the gameplay was pretty much spot on for Ben, but obviously, once again, Beth providing a masterclass on Submerged Stadium.
You gotta give it to Beth to do that back-to-back, and I think she entered that race in domestique, in teammate duties as well for Jeff Rooney. She was on the front doing the majority of the pacing to then switch off and go, you know what, Jeff, I've got the legs, I like this course, I want to go take the victory. Great effort from Beth. It propels her up into second place onto the podium, but far away. That is a race that's going to be dissected. It's going to be spoken about in the community because the different nuances, the amount of new gameplay dynamics that were on display just from that new track. Watching riders like literally slowing down opponents and then using their powers, but then getting it back. I cannot wait to see the analysis of that after all the racing has been concluded. Now, we don't have Sebastian, Beth, or Jeff on the broadcast. I do want to get a word once more from Ben, because Ben, you were there, you were in second place, you were in the front, you were the first to attack, but then you lose the top spot. What happened?
Well, I was super pleased with the power-ups. You know, I used wind at your back just on the worst bit for the headwinds, and then rolled into inertia when I had the speed. So generally I was pleased, but 2.5 laps on the front to keep that lead was always going to be tough.
How about Nigel? Because you saw him try to bridge away to you, Ben. He was trying to get up there, but they were seeing, was that a lack in communication, or what happened there? Or did he just try to follow your attack?
No, unfortunately I haven't been able to get him on the channel, so we weren't communicating. I was just listening to your broadcast. I was just hoping that he wasn't going to pull anyone with him. I'm not quite sure what happened really. I thought he was gaining on me. I thought we might have it to go together, but as Frank said, I think I probably would have done worse if I'd sort of slowed down. So I kept going and hoped that he would catch me, but sounds like he did some good work behind me anyway. So thanks, Nigel.
Well, Nigel did put in a game-changing block on Quentin, so that'll be interesting. Let's get a word from the Cognition camp, because Moti P. Kelly, Luis Obranis, and Sebastian are racing. Moti, you've got Sebastian currently provisionally first. What's the strategy here for Cognition? You've got 3 strong members. It's Sebastian's second zone. That last race was so tactical. Did it play out the way you wanted it to?
Oh, it was tough. Really good teamwork from multiple teams. I tried attacking, hoping to soften everybody up, but they stayed together and brought me back without anybody using too much energy each time. Got to give a shout out to Team Velocity Vixen and Beth for chasing me down twice of those attacks, and that was just awesome. And then Ben timed his power up well, and I saw people go. I was a little bit beat, and I panicked, used my wind at your back when I had a tailwind, which is like the least optimal time. It was a forced error because of good team play from the other team. So I'm happy that Sebastian was able to really use his power-ups well and get back up to the front and contest for that second position and stay at the top of the podium. So we've got our work cut out, but it's a lot of fun.
That's what I like to hear. Forced errors. Now that should be a stat added to the end of the results screen on CVRcade. Thank you, Moti. Frank, Country Rally is coming up now. This is one of your favorite courses. Looking at the scoreboard, who do you take us to being in a good spot coming into this very technical race?
Well, the scoreboard is very, very tight. 3 points separating Beth and Sebastian. Jeff's right there, another 7 points behind Beth, but 10 points behind Sebastian. That's one race, basically, one position difference here. And I don't know, this is really tough. Beth blew it earlier, so I think she's going to really be minding her P's and Q's and staying in the thick of it. So we'll see how it works out, and maybe some others will make some mistakes.
Weight lifted from Nigel from Ben. Nigel here using Uncrashable. They've got to be careful here, because if they overlap wheels, they'll both slow down. Ben, oh, he's getting close, and Ben then goes crashing down. That was a team-forced error upon CCC. If we can get that up on the replay, because you can see it coming there, Frank. What were they thinking?
I think Nigel wants to win, so he's moved into first place. And so maybe a little bit of miscommunication there, but he has burned his power-ups. You see Sebastian here in good position. Beth moving up into a good position as well. So this is going to get very, very tactical. And you see Modi's going to do some blocking, which is an interesting play, I think, here. So this will be very interesting, and there will be a lot of chatter on the CVRcade riders at the end of the day.
But blocking on this course is almost suboptimal, because most often you find yourself in a less optimal lane to be in, because what you really find yourself wanting to do is get in the rhythm, get in the flow. We've seen that with Beth, we've seen it with Carl, we've seen it with the best in these races. When you start taking the focus away from your rhythm and onto somebody else, that's normally when you start crashing and you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar trying to do too much as Beth. I mean, Frank, we see this from Velocity Vixen. I know Beth has got a controller. Carl has made his own controller out of an Xbox controller.
That was horribly dangerous by Beth. Modi could have got next to her and forced her into an unforced error into the grade, and she's set up here in good position as well. But you have to be careful, because the other teams will definitely ride you into an obstacle, and that just smarts when that happens.
Oh, Quentin, Jeff, and Beth here, and then Beth goes down! Oh, the pressure! That must also have been slightly due to fatigue. The pressure coming through, Frank, that is just 0.2 of a kilometer an hour, the difference?
Well, what happened there is she slid out in the corner, and like I said, and then she's in a difficult position because she's going to hit the barn door, and so she needs to move over. And Quentin is like, "No, you don't. I'm gonna overlap your wheel, and then this sets you up into this position." And I'm sure that one smarts a lot because she had a crash in Country Rally earlier, and so now we get to see what kind of heart Beth has, and I think she'll work to get back in here. But it's going to be a difficult day at this point, and so she's got Jeff up the way. And Jeff moves into second, 3 points behind Nigel, and so that's a very, very close race for the overall Omnium. So while Beth has made a mistake, the team overall is in good shape.
The Glitter Queen, if there's one thing she's got, it is hard. She always finds a way to dig in and get further up the road. But this, with 1 lap to go, may be a mountain too tall to overcome. But we will see. 1.3 kilometers remain. 6 riders on the front here, all capable of winning. Nigel, though, you have to wonder the CCC camp, because you heard...
That moves by Jeff going through the difficult path was amazing. I thought that was going to be a mistake.
Uncrashable on this spot, Frank. How big is this?
Well, he's used it very early, so he won't be able to get through all of the corners. And so the next corner, Nigel's going to cut him off. He's in a difficult spot moving up here.
That was interesting from Quinton. Oh, is Quinton going to slow down? Jeff, he lets Jeff out.
Awesome play by Jeff there. I thought it was over, but Quinton let him out of jail. And now it'll be interesting to see what happens.
But there are so many layers in that cake, because Quinton used Uncrashable in amongst Nigel as Moti goes down, in amongst Jeff and Nigel. He was in a New Zealand cake, and he was just waiting for either of them to make a mistake, because he had Uncrashable. Neither faltered. Jeff kept his cool and moved on out. Nigel, at this point, should probably look to secure his second place, because Quinton 2-3 seconds up the road, he's going to have to make a mistake. So Nigel has got the siege from behind, but the weight lifted here from Quinton is a bit of a risk, because you're in your rhythm. Is this necessary, Frank, with 300 meters to go?
I think he just wants to make sure that he's got the distance. You've got some traffic here. You've got a couple of bots that are in the way, and so it's going to be very difficult for Jeff to come around to Nigel. Oh, there you go. There's the play. Quantum shift. And you'll see Jeff want to work that. Now he's definitely got the advantage. But he's behind a slower bot.
Oh, Jeff! Nigel can count his chickens as he crosses. Jeff now has got Beth behind. This will be a true test on Velocity Vixen. Do they wait or do they let Jeff? No, Jeff not anywhere near Beth come the end of it. But what a race, Frank.
Yes, that was amazing. Jeff wanted to go to the outside, I think, to have the clear lane there, and he got stuck behind a bot. You just got to look ahead. And then he just wanted to move over a little bit too soon. His back tire caught that log, and he went down. So really unfortunate for Jeff. Cost him a lot of points there. I think he was going to be top of the leaderboard. But Sebastian is the one celebrating over that, because he's got now a not a big lead. Really, any one of the top 5 can still win the overall Omnium. So still close at the top, but certainly that helps Sebastian a lot.
I wonder if they're singing Kumbaya in the CCC camp, because in the interview before Country Rally, you heard Ben say, I hope Nigel just didn't bring anyone with him. And then in this race, both Nigel and Ben equally wants to win this race as much. And that took Ben out. Ben came into this race, good hopes. He said he liked Country Rally. He was ready to show what he can do. Within the first corner, taken out by his own teammate. It'll be interesting to make the rounds. First up, let's get to hear from Quinton Molyneux. You've been in this position once before today, Quinton. Congratulations on your win on Country Rally. All on your own. Lakeview Lanes. What do you think of this course?
I know how this is going to feel. I think this is going to be karma for this morning, because we were with 2 people in the front. And we could pretty much bully anyone with us, so I'm counting on being bullied.
Well, we'll see. Yes, Cognition, CCC, they've got the numbers. So does Velocity Vixen. You're going up against Nigel, Sebastian, Beth. Sorry, Frank?
You got to tell Quinton this is a family-friendly channel. There will be no bullying.
Well, Quinton, we'll see if there'll be some slightly gentle nudging out on course to put you in a less favorable position. Good luck, you. So I want to get a word from Nigel, because Nigel, that crash, the first corner, ooh, that was tough to look at.
Yeah, sorry about that, Ben. I think both of you and I wanted to get out there in front, just go hard at it, and neither of us was going to give way to the other one, so that's what happens. It's
what happens. Lakeview Lane's coming up. So Lakeview Lane's coming up now, Nigel. You're in third. This is your preferred zone. You've got some points, but you're up against Sebastian, Quinton, and the rest. What do you think here? What's the strategy? Is there going to be some interesting racing on hand from you guys?
Could be. What have we got? It's quite a long race, 8 kilometres. So I think, well, you got to stay at the front, stay in the draft, and then maybe someone will try a breakaway with a lap to go or something like that. The course isn't that technical, so not too many problems.
Oh, not that technical. Famous last words if I've ever heard any word spoken before. Congratulations. Oh, sorry. Good luck, Nigel, in the racing. Now, Frank, I did hear Nigel say it's 8 kilometers long. I'm looking at my screen. It says 9.4. Do you think this is why they crashed in the previous race?
Well, let me throw a little gasoline on the CVRcade Writers Forum here. I think, CCC, really the first team to form on CVRcade, maybe the first team to be sort of experiencing, the infighting of the various, members of the team, like who's the team leader. We sort of have, it's legend in cycling where different people want to, sort of rise to the top and be the team leader, and they think they're the ones that they should be, and so we'll see if that is indeed the case here. And either way, I'm sure that throws gasoline on the CVRcade Writers Forum.
That is always the funnest place to be right after the racing. But here we go. Last. Oh, Beth goes down. Second race in a row. She takes a tumble. Last race of Zone K. We've got Zone L coming up after this, and that will round out the end of the racing here. We've got this race and another hour of racing where you'll see Frank Garcia get in amongst the racing. So jumping out of the booth and onto the racing. Ben Shuilong here wants to make amends for the previous race. He's on the wheel of Quinton Molinez. Both just sitting here. There's no wind, so there's no echelon as they're trying to figure out their positioning. It's going to be very close near the front here, Frank, as Moti comes up to the front. I mean, in Zone E this morning, we saw different racers having different perspectives. You saw riders trying to box other riders in on these obstacles. Do you think we're going to see something similar here? Oh, might have lost Frank to try and set up his bike. So I think Frank is getting ready for the next race coming up after this, realizing there's only 9.4 kilometers before he has to race. So getting the bike on the trainer, getting kitted up, but that's okay. We got Moti here on the screen. We look at the scoreboard at the top. Jeff, Quinton, Sebastian, Nigel, they're all within a chance as we can see what is happening now as Moti moves into third. Luis Sobranis in fourth here. We haven't seen much of him here in Zone K, but like a good wine, it only gets better the longer it goes on. So we'll see if K and L combined can be a success story for Cognition and Luis Sobranis. Moti here though, I think he's hungry for a win, for a stage win, if anything. He wants to leave Zone K with a trophy in the bank. Sebastian Kuhn is up here as well. So the three blue riders. But Nigel experiencing some difficulties here as he gets on the wheel of former teammate Sebastian Kuhn. Ben Shuilong is at the back. Rick is at the back. Kinjal is at the back. Beth York is at the back. And now Nigel in the yellow here. He's got to make a decision. He's got power-ups. He's got wind at his back, racer's edge, and corner caper. He may be forced to use one here. Otherwise, the train up ahead is long gone. As Moti and Luis, they take each other out. Two teammates in a position so well. And we see a double takedown. If we've got that on the replay to try and dissect just how it happens. You see them up the road. They take a right turn in that corner. I think they both just try and get out of each other's way. I'm not sure how do they crash in that situation. That is interesting, but now that could be a saving grace for Nigel Doyle to get back up to the front group with Sebastian Kuhn as Moti and Luis Sobranis. They'll be having laughs about that one afterwards, but right now they're realizing that perhaps wasn't the smartest move. Quinton is in a favorable position. This is his preferred zone along with Jeff. I believe Jeff is streaming in using the in-game streaming widget. So Quinten and Jeff, at this point, whoever finished highest on the podium will win the day between them. So they both look at the scoreboard. They understand what they have to do and how they have to get there. As Nigel Doyle, it looked to be all over. But never count the Kiwi out. Nigel Doyle, the man of 1,000 head shakes, they have to avoid the obstacles. And Quinten, last minute, gets out of the way. And the racing here only gets tougher. Moti Bikelny, Ben Shuilong further back. We go back now as the yellow kid. He's making his way back up. He came into this race in 6th position. And he's currently sitting in 6th position again. So can he make it up? Racer's Edge gets used here. You can see him kind of heads down, rocking up. He's going to try and see if he can get onto the wheel of Moti here. Because he knows if he can get onto the wheel, he can get a draft. Because the Cognition riders are in one long line. You got blue on blue on blue here as the 3 riders. Well, they're bit spaced out here. They're not getting the maximum drafting advantage, so they're gonna have to try and close down the gap. But Sebastian are not letting up. He's saying, Luis, get on my wheel. And Luis not letting up to Moti, saying, Moti, get on my wheel. And the result of this is none of them are on each other's wheel, and Ben gets caught in the wake of that crash. As now Quinten is back here. Nigel can win too. It's also Nigel. Oh, Jeff goes down. Oh, Jeff Rooney. Oh, he's going to be biting that one. He's going to be thinking, what could have been? And then Nigel as well. Oh, crosses the lines. Let's get that up on the replay because I think Nigel is trying to explain it away. But we're just going to dissect it here. I can see him shaking his head. That was 5. Got 995 to go. But Quinten is on the inside. He takes the inside lane. And it is just 1 pixel. Quinten moves in. And I think Nigel thinks the coast is clear. You see him look down. And that means he's got his eyes off the screen. And he doesn't see Quinten on the inside. And this puts Quinten in a good position. VO2 max effort is coming up for Quinten. He has to stay with it because Sebastian can still win this. Moti and Luis Sobranis, you know what they're going to do? They're going to initiate the Cognition Patrol. They were the ones who named the Bot Patrol. Well, watch this. The blue collars of Cognition, if they eventually can get lined up, they can give each other some draft. But right now, I think they're all experiencing 1-digit drafting here. So can they get lined up? Can they get into a pace line in order to give the last person that extra bit of draft? Quinten is up the road. Nigel is fighting to get back with Jeff. Ben is now in 5th. So what this shows you is that you got to keep on fighting. If you keep committing to riding at a pace you know you can do. Moti gets out of the pace line and he then comes to the front. I think he's going to want to try and take the podium here as it is Ben Shuilong has made his way back in. Fantastic effort here from Ben trying to salvage something as he needs to get back on the wheel. He can almost reach out and touch it, and this is where your character gets tested. Can you find that extra bit of willpower? Can you go that extra mile to get onto the wheel? Because this is the easiest point where it is to ease up. But that's where you get dropped. Nigel Doyle, in the previous race, he was up there racing for the podium. 1 single crash has taken him out of the top 3 here. It's not over. We're halfway through the racing. But he's that looks like a man who's not got much more to give here. Well, what do you want me to do, Jesper? I ain't got the legs. There's the next zone coming up after this, of course. We'll see if Nigel's got more. But teamwork is on display. Oh, they're not allowing Ben to get back. You can just see Ben top left-hand corner. And this is the sad reality for Ben. You're so close to get onto a world where it's like, oh, I'm getting 60% draft. I'm going to be enjoying my Bahamas vacation. But instead, right now, you're going to the local hotel and you're spending not that much money because you're losing the draft. And now he's going to have to fight in as Jeff Rooney, Nigel, is knocking on his door. And it's exactly what we saw come out. He was within touching distance, but because he didn't close the gap, it's going the opposite direction. Luis Sobranis, his second wheel in this group, 3rd on the road. He's enjoying the long pull of Moti, and I think they're just teeing up to launch Sebastian. But in order to get onto the podium, to get Sebastian high up, because this isn't Sebastian's preferred zone, he will need to beat Quinten by 16 points. 16 points is the gap to beat him by, and he needs to be above him, and that means also that Luis and Moti Pikelny, they can't just ride on the front and give up. They've got to make the difference here. They've got to understand that they have got to get on the podium as well in this. It's not just a long train and then unleash Sebastian. They have to stick with it. And if there's a tactician, if there's a mathematician who understand all the different variances, it is Moti Pikelny. But look at Quinten on the right. He understands that there is a raging peloton behind him. There's the pain train, and he does not want to latch onto it. He does not have a valid ticket. Moti moves on over, and has Moti just ridden Sebastian and Luis off his way? Oh! Moti right into the pain tracks there, and that takes him out of the racing. It's up to Luis now, the lieutenant of cognition. Can he lead out the very talented Sebastian Kuhn? The chase is on. We'll see if Quinten Molinés can keep them at bay. Further back, by the way, Ben, Jeff, Nigel, Rick, they're putting out a great effort. Quinten is using his power-ups. Racer's Edge and Wind at his back gets deployed here. You've got one corner caper, but he opts not to use it here. I think he wants to break the spirits. This is it. Quinten is only racing Zone K. He's not racing Zone L after this. He's gonna empty the tank here, and with one lap remaining, it is deja vu from Zone E this morning. Team cycling up on the front, team cycling up at the top of the scoreboard, and all he's gotta do is ride 2.3 kilometers like he's never ridden them before. Man on man here, Luis Sobranese, Quinten Molinés. I wonder if Cognition would have been better taking turns. Instead of just having one rider on the front empty themselves, what if they took turns? What if they had riders like alternate 10 seconds on, 5 seconds off, 10 seconds on? But no, it looks like instead they're opting with a strategy of one rider on the front, go until you can't no more. One rider on the front, go until you can't no more. And right now it looks like it's panning out in Quinten's favor, but Luis and Sebastian have yet to use their power-ups. Sebastian in third wheel, he's raced one zone this earlier, but so has Quinten. You can see Luis's face here, there's not much left, and soon he's got to unleash the judge that is Sebastian Kuhn. Further back, we have a look. How's Ben feeling? He's on the wheel of Jeff. The secondary positions are very much up for grabs still. Beth has got a chance to make up some steps. Nigel and Jeff are fighting. Ben as well. And Luis and Moti. Here comes Luis though. Wind at his back. He's used at 185, 251. I mean, surely Cognition, they're known as the team that comes out with these wild strategies and executes them. But this, I'm not interested. I'm not quite sure I know exactly what the strategy is here. But on the left, Sebastian Kuhn gets unleashed. 7 seconds is the gap to make up. 1 kilometer remain. Can the German do it? Quinten versus Sebastian. 199 equalized heart rate, and he goes down. All that work and effort. And Luis Sobranese looks over and goes, oh, bugger. All that work out the window as he passes Sebastian. What this means, though, is Quinten, who will not leave anything up to chance. He's going to finish it off. 900 meters remain. But what an effort. Not only done it once this morning, but doing it twice here in Zone K. Quinten Molinés, Team Cycling Hub. This is going to be very crucial for his seeding coming into the tournament. Taking points here as he's just got to finish off the job. It's a long straight here. It's a right and another right to the finish line. But Jeff has got a chance to take points back on Sebastian. He's 10 seconds down, and Ben has got a chance. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, because will Ben let Nigel finish ahead of him? Because Nigel is 20 seconds off the back, but I think if Ben waits for Nigel and lets Nigel pass on through, I think that does allow Nigel in front of Jeff and gets him on the podium. So we'll see. Oh, Ben and Jeff go down. We'll cut to them in a second, but I want to see the finish. I want to give Quinten Molinés the Boulevard of Champions here, as he's worked so hard. He wipes off the sweat, knows the podium finish is coming up here, and with 100 meters to go, he can celebrate that one. He makes sure his shirt is ready. He points to the logo, and this is it, ladies and gentlemen, winning the Zone K Omnium, winning the last race. Now, Luis and Sebastian in second and third. I think they're just going to let Sebastian come over the line here in second place. They tried to unleash it, but with the corner speeds being what they are, I mean, the crash was inevitable, and Sebastian crosses the line. Secondary positions, Ben Struilong, Jeff Rooney. This is very crucial bonus points here. A second way that Ben can guarantee points for Nigel is to beat Jeff in the sprint. We'll see. This is the difference between third and fourth here. Ben stands up, and he's going to fight on through it, and this puts Nigel into fourth and not onto the podium, I believe. Ben comes in fifth, Nigel in sixth. That one crash, he was there, just didn't check over his left shoulder, didn't see Quinton Molyneux there, he goes down. 6 minutes, by the way, until the next zone begins. Make sure to join the racing if you want to be involved in that. It starts in 6 minutes times Zone L, so make sure to join it, make sure to get in on the racing. If you're watching here on Mixer and you're enjoying it, we've got more racing coming up in a second with Zone L. So these racers, some of them, they're going to do more. They want to have more fun. And Quinton, I'm sure he can be very satisfied with that victory as we see his celebration once more on the screen. Congratulations, Quinton. Lakeview Lanes, it's been ridden twice in the CVRcade World Cup, and it's been won twice by Team Cycling Hub. What is it about that course that you find so good?
I don't like it at all. And I like it even less when I all of a sudden am alone on the front, because I would rather have had the two guys with me instead of crashing. That was a very, very tough ending to the race. It was brutal.
It was you versus Cognition. You have the pain train behind you, and you committed to it. What's that like to know that there's 3 riders committed just to chasing you down?
I noticed it with like 3K to go that it was a full team behind me. I was just looking at their speed and just trying to match it as close as possible. I mean, up until the end, I knew that Seb still had his power-ups and that Louis probably had his as well. So I was thinking they were gonna come across, and Seb nearly did it. If he didn't crash, he would have come flying by. So I got lucky, very lucky that they were a bit unfortunate with the crashes. But I'm happy.
You have to put yourself in a situation in order to have these unfortunate mistakes. How are you going to go celebrate not only the one victory this morning, but the second victory here tonight?
I think you know the answer. That I'll be grabbing a beer. Also, my promise to sing Celine Dion is off the table now.
Hey, no. Give us at least one verse, because we've also got Nigel in here who's agreed to sing backup. Let's just have one go. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna spare your ears.
So what he's saying is, later tonight, once he's celebrated enough, look out for the CVRcade Riders Forum. I believe Quinton is going to give us a rendition. So that is a promise. Thank you, Quinton. Good luck. I want to have a word with Nigel heading into the next race. Because, Nigel, you were there. You were in for the win. And that 1 pixel, man, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, a moment's inattention. I wanted to, change lane just to cut the corner. Didn't look to see if there was a rider coming. Crash. Game over. Because I was going pretty well there.
You were up there. You and Quinton. You heard Quinton say he wanted you there with him. Heartbreaking, but we got more racing coming up now, Nigel.
Yeah, I will see how we go. I'm going to do this a little bit more strategic this time around, so maybe the next race, race 2, sit in with the bots, because the bots did pretty well last in Zone K. So sit in with the bots, see what happens.
I like it. Good luck, Nigel. Let you catch your breath. Frank has jumped out of the booth and onto the bike as he does for Zone L. Frank, the finish there of Zone K, what do you make of that, of Lakeview Lanes?
Boy, that skill really caught Sebastian out. I thought he had it, and my heart goes out to him. He really worked hard in a couple of zones today. And I thought it was going to pay off for him. Just didn't get far enough over to give himself some time to slow down in that last lane change when we started sliding. And boy, that's got to hurt.
That's, yeah, heartbreak for Cognition, but they get another chance. You're on the bike here. You've got Aaron Starlin, you got Jennifer Garcia, Rick Woods, Neil Stewart in there. How is Team CVRcade going to race this one? Because now you've had a chance to watch the previous zone and the zone before that. Being the team leader, what are you taking with you into this zone?
Catch me if you can. We're going to do the opposite of Nigel's strategic, and we're just going to put the hammer down and see who can stay with us.
Oh, I like that. Thank you, Frank. 1 minute remain. I know Ben is going back to do more here in zone L. Ben, is there anything left in the legs? Because that was both heartbreak, I think, mentally and physically in that last race.
Yeah, that's been a tough zone, and I don't have much to show for it, unfortunately. So we'll see. Generally I always think I'm tired for the second zone, and then I frequently do all right. So I'm hoping I still have some legs left. And no hard feelings to Nigel with that crash. I think we would have both made it round if I hadn't been going that little bit too fast. So I skidded into his lane. So yeah, just one of those things. But that was the beginning of the end for the whole zone for me, really.
Well, thanks, Ben. 10 seconds, I'll let you focus as the racing begins. Now, that could have been avoided as well by using your own uncrashable, but as Ben said, the beginning of the end. What happens in the racing is often once you get out of rhythm, and I think rhythm and pressure are two things that aren't discussed that heavily in the racing, because pressure is something you hear Tim talk a lot about when it comes to racing. If you can make somebody else feel uncomfortable, you can push them out of their comfort zone. You're seeing Frank do that now, or at least attempting to. Everybody always goes to the left. He, on the opposite side, is going to the right here. Aaron, who's broadcasting in today, who's been doing quite well in these no-skill events, he was in on it and understands we're going right here. And with Neil Stewart and Jennifer Garcia there, if they can get away here and break the draft from the other riders, they've got a chance here to catch everybody off guard. And you can see Jeff Rooney, you can see Moti Pikelny, who's just on the back here. It was a valid attempt, something new here, and it very well could have worked for Team CVRcade, but in a race like this, on Echelon, everything is visible. It's very opposite to how Submerged Stadium is raced. The only three that seems to be caught out is Homer Thompson, Neil Stewart, and Jeff Rooney, but I think if they work together, they may be able to get back in there. 2-3 seconds? No, that gap seems now to be going the opposite way. So 7 riders are on the front. Ben Shuilong, Moti Pikelny, Luis Sobranis, Nigel Doyle, Frank Garcia, Aaron Starlin, and it'll be interesting to see how they play this one out, because it is the no-skill event. It's a one-scoring multiplier, but at the end of the day, every point matters. In the last race, if Nigel won, he wins the day. If Sebastian wins, he wins the day. If Quinton doesn't get top 3, he's not even on the podium. And these riders, they want the stage wins, they want the points for the seeding, they want to be shown in the broadcast, they want to have highlights. They always, I know so many people that wake up and the first thing they do, they go to the CVRcade Facebook page and they watch the highlights of the racing they missed on Thursday nights, etc. to catch up and see just how it planned out. So Moti did try to attack last time, but I think we're looking at Team CVRcade. Catch me if you can was the motto from Frank Garcia here. They're going to try and shake things up, and they have done in the past, especially in the second zone of the day. When riders are tired, what you see from the green riders is that they go far out, they go long, and they go hard. And they really put down the pressure, and that's something they really push through here. It's 1 lap remain. Aaron Starlin is on the front. 158 equalized heart rate. He's got a sprint on him and he's ready to go. but will he be the chosen one? Speaking of preferred zones in this one, Moti Bikelny and Jennifer Garcia are the only two that have this as their preferred zone of racing. So it'll be an interesting heads-up display between those to see who will come out on top. You heard what Ben said in the pre-race interview. Sometimes when you think you don't have much left in the legs, you surprise yourself and you're able to push that bit harder. And I think that's also something CVRcade fosters. It's the fact that you can go for longer than you think, you can go harder than you realize, because it's equalized. If you can just push harder than the person next to you, if you can suffer more and be smarter about your suffering, you will end up beating the guy next to you. And I think that is something riders are realizing. So even though you're slightly fatigued, the guy next to you may be even more fatigued, and you can use that to your advantage. But I think everybody's eyes fall upon this man, Moti Bikelny. By now, the trademarked attack with 800 meters to go. I think everybody is aware that something is afoot here. Cognition always tries to change things up. They've got their strategy that they've been trying to nail in, and we look. Moti, will he be the first one to strike? Everybody is still sitting calm. Here's the 800 meter mark, but no, he decides not to go at this point. Luis Soberanis moves on up. 500 equalized watts. I think he knows something is about to go down here. He seems antsy. He seems a bit jumpy. Aaron Starlin, though, off the back, and he's going to be taken out before the sprint even has a chance to go. Unless he uses Comeback Kid, that could be all over. But Comeback Kid from Aaron Starlin, different strategy approach. Look at the cadence, 150 RPM here. He is spinning that washing machine up, and we'll see if the clothes are going to be clean after this. But he goes, and he goes, and he goes more. 300 meters remains, but he's got to keep this up. He's got to take this momentum and go right through the group. And there he goes, 70 kilometers an hour, 100 meters remain, and he is shaking the entire room. Is it gonna be heartbreak? And it is. Moti and Frank, and you look at his facial reaction. That was a man who wanted that win like more than I've ever seen before. Really well done to Aaron. But he gets pipped at the line by Moti. As look at this. This is the closest we've seen to the Comeback Kid power-up strategy working. He goes from extremely far out. 500, 600 meters out. He lets go. And then what really made it possible to go through the group is the draft. Look at his speed. It skyrockets from 65 up to 69, up to 70 as he drafts through the group. 200 meters to go. And the entire room is shaking as he is pushing. He may be needing another gear or two. And it's heartbreak as Moti says, I see all the work you've done. I'm going to race you. And, Moti, is there a slight bit of you that feels bad coming around Aaron, considering you put in that much effort?
Oh, that was an amazing effort. I saw him in the rearview mirror coming like a freight train, and I was lucky to hold on. Frank was coming through quickly too. He nearly timed that perfectly. 9 times out of 10, he wins that. Maybe 99 times out of 100. I feel lucky. That was a tough race. Whew, lots of tension coming into the end, like a coiled spring.
But I think that's to blame to you, because everybody always looks at you. You were the first one to break things up. Today you didn't. On this race, you didn't. And that makes everybody even more on edge. So like, what does Cognition have planned now? And in the end, you took the win. So congrats, Moti. But I want a word with Aaron, because to see the camera shake like that, Aaron, can I just ask what went through your mind when you let go of the group and then gave everything you got?
That I did it too early and let go too far, so I had to do even more work than I wanted to. I think if I would have waited a little bit and stayed with the pack, it would have worked out, but my timing just wasn't perfect. But I knew what I wanted to do and almost executed it the way I wanted, but we got, I think, 2, 3, and 4 in that, so it's not too bad, and my teammates didn't have to expend that much energy either, so I'll just take the hit on this next race and see what happens in 3 or 4.
It was brilliant, man. On the bike you've got, are there more gears available? Because it looks like you were spinning a mad cadence.
I'm at the highest I can go.
What? That is
Yep,
impressive,
so.
man. Well done. I'm excited to see
Need
what
more
you
gears.
guys. Well, obviously, the way you were, like, the entire room was shaking. Nonetheless, I think everyone enjoyed watching that, Aaron. So thank you for putting on a good show despite being pipped at the line. Let's get a final word further back from Nigel Doyle coming into the racing here. He was 6th in the last race. Nigel, last race of the week for you here. We come in to Submerged Stadium. You've got a chance to race it the second time around. What are we going to do differently? Oh, I think you may be muted on your side, Nigel. Perfect.
Yeah, sorry. I think I'm just going to sit in with the bots in this one. I'd like to have another go at Country Rally. See how I go on that. So take it easy this one.
I like it. Get a word from Ben Shuey along your teammate as well. Ben, are you gonna do the same strategy as your teammate? Are you gonna wait for the next carousel at the carnival, or are you gonna go for this one?
Well, ordinarily I wouldn't give away my tactics, but I'm thinking of sitting in on the bots as well. Only because I am quite tired, and they did quite well, as Nigel said. So we'll see how it goes. Sitting on the bots, and fingers crossed that those on the front don't pull away.
I like it nonetheless. No secrets from CCC, but sometimes when you say you sit in with the bots, that's when you go, psych, I'm going to go off the front. But I'm sure if Frank Garcia was in the commentary booth with me, he would not be afraid to call chicken from both the CCC riders to stay with the bots. 10 seconds remain. Aaron Starlin, the showman of the last race. Now we'll see what CVRcade have got to show for this next race as the racing begins. Submerged Stadium. Third time it's being raced as we watch the riders get out of the gun. Frank Garcia, 1,000 equalized watts. So he's trying to break things up early, and he's got Jennifer Garcia with him. And they tried the same thing on Echelon. They tried earlier to break the spirits of everybody around them. I think we're going to see the same thing this time around. Jennifer Garcia is there. Louise Sober-Anise is there as well, down in third. Moti, the winner of the previous race, not too far back, but the early attack has caught a few riders out. You can see Moti. Look at the effort that he's putting in. He understands that if Frank and Jennifer get up the front, because Moti has been in breakaways before with both Jennifer and Frank, he understands that if they get away, if they get a gap, they're going to work together. They understand the art of taking turns on the front. And Moti, instead of having Louise wait for him, he jigs in and he bridges the gap. But we saw this with Ben in Zone K on Lakeview Lanes. You can get ever so close for it to come down in heartbreak at the very end. 1 second is still about 10 meters, 7 meters on the road, and Frank Garcia is not going to make it easy. Two different viewpoints. Frank on the right, he's in the breakaway with Jennifer Garcia. On the left, Moti Bikelny, Louise Sober-Anise, the two teammates, as they've got Uncrashable as an ability. This will be an extremely fast-paced race. So at the front now, Jennifer Garcia finds herself on the wheel of Frank Garcia. How will they take turns? So far, it's Frank on the front dictating the pace. But with the wind, there's a 7-kilometer-an-hour wind, meaning that it changes every turn you take. The wind changes direction, meaning you have to position yourself accordingly on the rider in front of you. And so when it's a headwind, you sit directly on the back. But when it's a, Moti goes, wind at his back. The attack from Frank, the pressure, we're really seeing it shine through here. The pressure of Frank Garcia forcing a power-up for Moti. And he counter-attacks, he counter-moves with his racer's edge and his wind at his back. And Jennifer, just a second late on the power-ups. That could be big. That could be really big for the sake of this breakaway. But Moti, we go back again. He says, I see you and I race you, as he uses his inertia. 55 kilometers an hour. He wants to stop this attack from happening, but he's still not there. All these matches have been spent. All these chips have been pushed to the inside of the table, but soon the ante's coming up around again, and you need more chips to play with. Moti, Louise Sober-Anise. If you're Louise, are you using your power-ups? You have to consider now using all your power-ups as well. You can't just sit in. Even though Nigel, Ben, Aaron, they're enjoying their their trip on the bot patrol carousel. They've all bought their tickets, but now Moti, Frank, Jennifer pushes the pressure. She does not want Moti to get back because Moti has got this as his preferred zone. So does Jennifer. They start the day with a 16-point gap on the rest of the riders in Zone L. You can see Jenna though. I think she's trying to reach down. I'm not sure, that could be a technical that she's trying to fix mid-race. Here comes Luis though. Luis uses his power up, but then he stops. I'm not sure what's happening there, so there could just not be anything left in the tank when you race so hard. Frank uses inertia and leaves Jennifer behind. Oh, the facial expression, he's gone hard. But what about Moti further down? Sorry for cutting back and forth, but so much action is happening that it's tough to cover all the different moves and stories progressing, because Frank is going, Moti is going, Jennifer's done everything right, but a mechanical may have taken her out of the race. But look at what Frank is doing to Moti. He is breaking his spirit. He got within a second, and now he's saying, right Moti, I see you, you're not getting back in. And Moti looks up and rests. Jennifer with wind at her back. She wants to get back in. She's got a smile on her face. She feels comfortable about the current situation at hand with Frank in the front. And these two, I don't think there's going to be any doubt whether or not they're going to work together. But I think the big question is going to be, if these two came to the sprint finish, who would win? Now that is something I like to see you guys in the Mixer chat discuss. In these two, sprint up, head up finish, as Luis uses inertia. So I think what Moti has decided to do is that he's recognized that he cannot bridge alone. He needs his lieutenant, he needs his teammate, and we've got a 2-up team time trial. Moti did suggest this in the Riders Forum. He did say, I think someone suggested a 100-kilometer team time trial. Can I be the first one to say, I would love to commentate it, I'm not sure I would love to race it. So, yes, I would love to be a host, I'd love to commentate it, but best of luck to everyone in their legs for a 100-kilometer team time trial. In this race, looks like we've got a 7.6 kilometer team time trial. Team CVRcade on the front. Team Cognition, second place. We go back down and we have a look at the concession stands. Nigel Doyle basically getting a donut, it looks like, here down in the peloton. Further back, Ben is refilling his pop as he's on the wheel of Eli. So the riders from CCC, it could be a clever strategic move, because Louise, Moti, Frank, Jennifer, they're spending a lot of energy at the front, but they are applying the scoreboard pressure, because in the next race, Country Rally, this forces Nigel, it forces Ben, it forces Aaron to do something about it. But Frank can be happy about this situation. He did call out everybody saying, you know what, this zone, we're going to change things up. We are going to be the ones attacking. And that is really how it's unfolding so far. Jennifer Garcia in the CVRcade World Cup kit. Frank Garcia in the Team CVRcade kit. And they are now going to ride together to the finish line. Can they keep the rest at bay? It looks very good, because this is essentially Frank's forte. This is what he understands much better than the rest, it seems like, when you get in a breakaway, because this is emulation of real life. Frank has got experience racing criteriums, etc. When you find yourself in a breakaway, you take turns in the front and then you swing off and you let another person go and you rest up. This is what Cognition probably should have considered doing in Lakeview Lanes, because what they did is they had a pace line of 3 riders. The first rider went until he couldn't ride no more. The second rider went until he couldn't ride no more, and it left the third rider in an all or nothing situation. Granted, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You look at the scoreboard now, Frank's in the leading position, but Moti and Jennifer are in second and third. They're going to be close, they're going to be duking it out here, and I think Moti realizes the danger. After this, we've got Country Rally and Lakeview Lanes coming up. So 2 very technical courses, 2 high-skill races coming up here on your Saturday evening, wherever you are in the world, enjoying some high-class CVRcade World Cup racing. Moti is digging in, and Luis is helping him out. So here the roles have changed, but the bot patrol is not too far back. Aaron Starling spent some energy in the last race. This time he's enjoying the sheep herding down here. He is covered from all angles. angles. He doesn't have to worry. As you can see him calm, collected, while his teammates, they put the pressure down on the front. Aaron can just focus on getting perhaps even third. I think Luis and Moti, as strong as they are, I think they will struggle to keep the pace above 344. We're seeing that they're looking for the nearest gas tank. They're looking for the nearest area where they can refuel petrol, because right now they're running on fumes and they need to find a way to get a pit stop, refuel the energy, and go again. The power-ups have been used, so they're already at a disadvantage. And it could be sewn over early on here if they don't recover and go again. On the front, meanwhile, giving you a masterclass in how to do a 2-up breakaway. Frank Garcia on the wheel of Jennifer. And thanks to physical equalization, these two riders are able to ride, race, and compete together, despite having different backgrounds in cycling, different equipment. You heard Aaron say he was in the highest gear. Now, I don't know if that bike has 3 or 21 gears or whatever. You can see as anything is allowed on CVRcade thanks to physical equalization. Now, there was some talk about coming into the no-skill events with a bigger gearing, but then you start to struggle when you come into races like Summit Islands. But Frank looks content. If we see what Jennifer Garcia looks like, she's on the front. She is rocking away, comfortable and confident as ever. The gap is 20 seconds down, but they have got to be careful as well. They're in a good position here. They're in a race-winning position, an Omnium winning position as well early on. But they've used their power-ups. Inertia is gone, wind at their back is gone, and Razor's Edge is gone. Meanwhile, Ben Shuilong has his stuffs, Aaron Starlin has his power-ups, Homer, Nigel, Jeff, they've all got their power-ups. So Jennifer and Frank here, they've got to keep the pace high, because if they don't keep it above 344, they will get caught. But you heard Frank. If you tuned in to the previous zone, Frank Garcia was the co-commentator for that race. He said the thing to do when you get in a breakaway like this, the thing he likes a lot to do is attack. It's just break the elastic, and then when you've got the butt patrol pacing you down, all you gotta do is stay above 344 equalized watts, and then you know they will not catch you. So Moti, Luis, they're fighting against the angry mob behind of bot patrols as they're only 10 seconds back and they're catching up. Look at Moti's face. Look at the effort required just to stay on the wheel. And as the wind changes, the draft changes. And so right now, despite being wheel and wheel, they're not getting that much rest. And it's a second Omnium here for Moti Bikelny in Zone L. He's raced a lot and he has got points from bonus points. And so he understands what he's up against. He's got his biggest competitor in Jennifer Garcia further up. But now, Frank and Jennifer are starting to lap riders on the front. As you can see, they're passing one rider on the left there. And soon, other riders are going to fall to the same fate here as the gap continues to grow out. And I wonder, well, is there ever going to be a point where Ben Shuilong, Nigel Doyle, they're going to be tempted? Because the gap up to Moti, up to Louise, it is slimming down. It's coming down with every pedal stroke. And there's a lap and a half remaining here. There's not much, I think there might be 3 laps. There's not many laps left here. And Ben and Nigel, as teammates, they've also got Homer in here. Are they just going to raise the white flag and not try and bridge across? Because they've got a real opportunity here to get onto the top 3 of this race and take very valuable points, because they were already on their back foot. As you can see, the 3 CCC riders all beside each other as they're enjoying the buds riding them around. Luis Sobranese, second wheel of the cognition train here. Him and Moti, they've been struggling, they've been fighting. They fought heavily for Sebastian Kuhn on Lakeview Lanes in the last zone. Came up short, and now the 3-man fight is down to 2. Will they be able to battle on through, or will they come out racing the white flag? The gap is still 10 seconds. You wonder, Aaron Starlin could make it a 1-2-3 podium for CVRcade. Nigel Doyle could move on up. Ben Shuilong, Jeff Rooney, Homer Thompson. Will they pounce on this opportunity, or will they let it slide? As Frank, second wheel here, his equalized heart rate is coming down. So what's happening is when you got a breakaway like this, it allows yourself to rest up. So with Frank on the wheel of Jennifer, he's spending less energy. And overall, the entire course, I think he's spending less energy than Luis and Moti, perhaps, because they're efficiently taking turns. They're efficiently trading on through and using the in-game communication widget. They're able to tell each other, right, I've got good legs, I'm feeling strong, I'm pulling for 15. Right, I'm coming off, your turn. Oh, my turn, you pull long enough, my turn. And so they keep the chain tight. Luis and Moti, though, chasing on. They're still there. The tale of 3 team time trials, and Moti struggling with some back pain, and it could be a hindrance. When you're racing equalized, you've got to be rested. You've got to be ready to go, because every wattage matters. And we're seeing that from the always dominant Moti Pikelny here as he continues to fight. He continues to fight with that warrior spirit that we know and love from Moti Pikelny here. As he is 8 seconds is the gap. The bot patrol is closing it down. Is there ever going to be like a carrot dangling out that somebody will reach across? But you've got to feel from Moti. We saw Aaron shake the room. Here I think we've got Moti digging a grave. And there goes Ben. There it is. The lottery ticket has been bought. Will it be a winner? He's scratching it off. 1 field gone. 2 fields gone. 3 fields. Now he's got to commit to it. 5 seconds up. The Hungry Wolf now pounces. 53 inertia kilometers an hour being used here, and he's gonna come right on through. Moti and Luis having nothing left, and with 1.3 kilometers to go, this is it. This is what we're waiting for. But then Moti goes, no you don't, no you don't, get in line. And then he lets Ben on through. Half of the racer's edge was used when Moti blocked him, and Ben back in the racing, back up in the front, 4th place, taking out valuable points. Luis in 4th. Nigel Doyle as well. Windat is back. Racer's edge. Now the CCC riders are like, okay, we've had enough. We've had enough with the child's play. Let's join the adults table. And here they go. Nigel Doyle with inertia. He's got Moti on the left, and we watch him go right on by. And from 3rd place to 6th, Moti moves down. This puts Jennifer and Frank in even better positioning here as Luis is surrounded by wolves here. Ben in front of him and Nigel Doyle behind him. Meanwhile, out of the congestion, out of all the trouble and turbulation, Jennifer Garcia and Frank Garcia came in with a battle plan, and they executed. And that is something that is not easy to do here, as they find themselves being joined by a lapped Jeff Rooney. I'm not sure if he's going to get involved in any way or not. I think he's a good sport and just going to try and ride his own race here, as he's on the inside of Jennifer. 500 meters remain. And now we start to look. Will they show their hand? This is Jennifer's preferred zone. Frank Garcia uses quantum shift. I think this is more of a defensive mechanic to ride on through to allow Jennifer to move up. But 300 meters remain. Jennifer's putting in a bit of a sprint here. I'm not sure if she got scared that Frank was going to try and beat her to the finish line, but she's rocking left and right. Inertia. There she goes. She can rest. Jennifer Garcia takes the victory on Submerged Stadium. So 3 races on Submerged Stadium, all won by women. So they must know something on this course that the rest of us don't. Frank gets 2nd. Ben and Nigel will take 3rd and 4th, it looks like. So Cognition put in all the work, but Ben and Nigel bought their scratch cards, and they all came out to be winners. It's 3rd and 4th, Nigel and Ben. They spent perhaps more energy than they wanted. Luis waits for Moti, and I think he crosses the line. He was trying to let Moti pass him, but with the wind at your back, you can see Moti say, it's all right. Let's have a look at Jennifer Garcia loading up the inertia. Frank loading, getting some sprint ready. That was really good racing all around. That was close. It was good to see Team CCC awake to the task, but at the front, manipulating or directing the traffic, it was Team CVRcade, with Jennifer Garcia coming up with the victory and now leads the racing ahead of Frank Garcia in 3rd place. Now, our scoreboard has just changed, it looked like. So if the commissioners are out there, if you can give us some updates as the racing progresses, that would be brilliant. But congratulations, Jennifer. I think she's just on the phone. I'm not sure if she can hear me. But Jennifer, in a breakaway with Frank, that was brilliant. What was that like?
Oh, that was so good. I'm starting to get the drafting down. It was something I couldn't really conceptualize when I first started, but finally started figuring it out. And I think we just, every single lap we would switch off, and it worked out beautifully. I was really scared at that one point when Maudie was catching. He was like a second from us. And my dad was like, just use your power ups. And we were able to get away, kind of demoralize him a little bit, I think. So it was nice that after that we had kept that consistent gap, which made it pretty easy. Not any less tiring, but easier for us. So.
Before we came to, I saw you, was that making a voice memo on your phone? What were you saying to who?
I was talking to my dad. I actually couldn't hear him. Usually I can hear him in the chat, and we were having some issues with the voice chat, and I didn't know if I wanted him to get the win, but I had that power up left, so I was trying to tell him, should I use it, and I just called him to apologize, because I did use it, so.
Well, congratulations, Jennifer. We do have we do have Frank on the broadcast. So let's go get a word. Frank, is there anything to apologize there for from Jennifer?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's my daughter. She wanted the victory, and she had the power up left. I don't know how she had one left. Holy cow. So that was brilliant riding by her. And I think we're going to be a little competitive here in this next race. You never know. So it should be interesting. We're close at the top. Ben and Modi are not far behind. It'll be interesting to see how it plays.
What was it like to be in a... Yeah, I was going to say, what was it like to be in a two-man breakaway with your daughter in a virtual cycling game?
There's few things in life better. I got married. I had kids. But that was a lot of fun, and we were in the groove. We switched off, each of us taking a lap. And it was just, it was absolutely gorgeous. It's some of the most fun you'll have. And anyway, as you can tell, I'm stoked.
Yeah, I do not blame you. That looked amazing. I'll let you have a moment to savor that as we go to Modi. From being top 3, putting in all that effort, Modi, to go out the back. What happened from Team Cognition's perspective?
Oh, that was excellent gameplay for Frank and Jennifer. Not only did they come in with a strong strategy, but they cooperated flawlessly. They're switching off and drafting, and echelons using the wind at every turn was perfect. And Luis and I probably were working just as hard, but we weren't cooperating as well. We just don't have the same amount of practice or the same ESP, mental telepathy, that they've got going on. That was beautiful cooperation off the front, and they really nailed us to the wall. And Luis and I got stuck in no man's land. So it was a great race, really cool to see. Really tough position for us, but it was awesome.
Good luck here in Country Rally coming up next. So the scoreboard on the stream has just it looks like on the one user it's locked up, but I do have the second monitor. The one we use for a split screen is working, so we'll update you according to that. But Frank Garcia wanting to get a bit competitive with Jennifer here. I think we could be in for a great race here as Frank uses his his weight-lifted power with Uncrashable right after this, and everybody using Uncrashable like this. So Frank the Trendsetter is showing everybody else how to do it. Ben, Nigel, Jennifer further back using theirs as well, coming through the hay bales. It's only 3 laps. Jennifer in contested area here with Jeff. It was interesting to see, because we could have seen a deja vu moment of the earlier race on CCC where Ben and Nigel crashed into each other. But this time, the two riders have found their zen, they found their mojo, and Ben has really gotten good. I think he's just changing something either on the speakers or on the screen, and he knows it. But he's gotten really good at Country Rally. But how good are you? This is the test. You know, when you can play certain games on PlayStation and you go up against the extra hardcore difficulty boss? Well, that's Frank Garcia, and you now have to show what you're made of. The two CCC riders, they sat in, they rested up, and this is now their chance to make it up. So side by side, they're coming on through, and we look towards the scoreboard here on the right. Frank is in a position 20 points ahead of Jennifer, but Jennifer does get 16 bonus points. Nigel and Ben 3rd and 4th, with Moti, Luis, Jeff, and Aaron further down. Still lots to race for, as this is the penultimate race of the day. We've got Lakeview Lanes once more. Jennifer using weight lifted here, 30 kilograms lighter, 191 equalized heart rate. So she is on the limit of what she can do, but she wants to try and pass both Ben and Nigel. It's not going to be an easy task though, as they have been fighting. They've used their powers, but Jennifer, without Uncrashable, without weight lifted now, passes Ben. Ben is going to try and recover from that. She slows down quite heavily here, not wanting to slide out, and that allows Ben right back in, as Jeff also comes back. On the front, passing through the hay bales, is Frank Garcia. Fresh, I think... Frank, ooh, Jeff goes down. I think Frank watched the earlier zone, got a bit antsy, got a bit Jerry, was like, I want to race Country Rally, because that's how I feel about Dark Matter Velo. Then he commentated on the Zone K race of Country Rally, and then here in Zone L, he goes, okay, finally time to show how it is done. And a 10-second lead down to Nigel Doyle at this point. Frank is in a great position here to take Country Rally, but a lap and a half remains still as Nigel is pushing it. Homer Thompson as well. Gotta give him a shout out. He's in 5th, and I think he's still got his powers remaining. So CCC coming out here with their yellow jersey, producing some good quality content. As on the front here, we've got Nigel and Frank. 7 seconds distance the two riders now. But it looks to be in the favor of Frank as he comes on through, goes over the wood, turns left, turns right, and now this will be the finishing stretch. He's got to do this once more. No power-ups remain, but now it's up to Jennifer Garcia. She passes Ben Shuey Long again. Has she learned how to take that barn door left? Barney the barn door has made many friends, but also the corner before it has seen many people crash, and you've got to be on it. She accelerates, she pushes on through. Nigel is in her scope. Ben Shuey Long being left in the dirt, and this puts Jennifer about 16 points behind. I think she's actually just 1.5 points ahead of Frank Garcia on the scoreboard right now, thanks to bonus points. If she can catch Nigel Doyle, he's got a chance to move even further up. 800 meters remain. Homer Thompson's pulling out a great effort here. Louise is in also through Barney the barn door. Moti P. Kilney just trying to ride this on through. He seems to be suffering here down in 7th, but 600 meters remain. Half a lap. Frank Garcia from the gun in a good position as Luis uses his quantum shift to come on through Homer Thompson. Now we'll look at Frank Garcia. Can he finish off what he started? He knows that no power-ups behind him are available, and all he's got to do is ride a flawless final 400 meters. And so far, so good for the American for Team CVRcade. Looking at the scoreboard, it does favor him. Jennifer's got a push here as Homer, Ben, Luis are all pushing her for 3rd place. Nigel seems comfortable in 2nd place, but we've seen this with Nigel before. Nigel gets in a winning position, gets a bit happy, and then he overcooks a corner, he hits a log, and he goes through. As Ben is fighting with Jennifer, we'll just catch Frank to the line here, as we always have good celebrations from Frank, but we keep an eye further back, as through the corner goes Nigel. Frank Garcia wins Country Rally. You can see the celebration, but the fight for the secondary positions, Moti P. Kilney comes on through and takes the Uncrashable. He was a 1 point ruled out, and then he just comes right on through with Uncrashable. Ben not looking too satisfied. Jennifer was up there fighting for the top 3 spots, but it is Moti P. Kilney taking back very crucial points. Let's have a look at the instant replay coming into Lakeview Lanes. Frank Garcia winning Country Rally, but further back, Moti saving his Uncrashable, and he was essentially able to sprint right through the group, choose the inside lane, not worry about it. Look at this, he's down in 5th, 2 seconds, 3 seconds behind Ben and Jennifer, and while they fight in amongst each other, Nigel takes 2nd place, but then Ben, Jennifer, and Moti and Louise in the camp of saving their power-ups. They go late while Frank celebrates. Moti says, see you later guys, I'm taking the inside route, and he then goes on to take 3rd spot. But congratulations Frank, after watching Zone E, after commentating Zone K, how satisfying was it to show how Country Rally is supposed to be raced?
I think the first race was more satisfying, better teamwork. Certainly both were catch me if you can, but I just got a good lead. I think a few other people are fatigued from riding earlier zones. I'm fresh, and I've done that course a lot, so it puts me in a good position for the end here. But this is a new course, and there's been a lot of crashing on it, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays.
Yeah, because that's going to be my next question. What we've seen on Lakeview Lanes is that numbers make the difference. If you can force out errors on other riders, that seems to be the difference. You've got both you and Jennifer top 2. Are you looking for the individual win here, or are you looking for team glory?
Oh, Team Glory. I wish Devin had done a little better on the last course, so we could decide, sprint. Bruno's going to have the victory, but right now I'll try going pretty hard, and hopefully Jim will come along with me, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Want to get a quick word from Moti P. Kelly, because what you did there, Moti, to see you just resting up and stretching, that was clever. I don't often see the power of getting used like that. You and Luis used to combined.
I'm going to be more fatigued if you and I can stay.
Oh, let's get away from Moti. He's talking strategy. They're focusing. Let's go to Nigel. Nigel, Country Rally, what is it that makes it so fun for you guys?
It's technical, but you've got to go hard. It's a course you can ride hard, but you just got to watch out for those obstacles, and the corner speed coming into the barn can catch a lot of people out, and that's why a few of us use the uncrashable, so you don't crash there.
Third spot on the podium, Nigel. You've got a real chance here to take the win today. You and Ben, it's the last race of the week. Are we going to leave everything on the road for this one?
Oh, we'll see how we go. I'm a bit tired now, so fatigue, it's easy to make a mistake, silly mistake, so I'll just have to be really careful changing lanes.
Last time you crashed. We'll see if this time will be any difference, Nigel. Rooting for you. 1 minute to go. Let's get the final word from second place on the podium currently, Jennifer Garcia. It's you, Frank, at the top. You've got a chance here to win. I believe your first Omnium. How badly do you want this one?
I want it pretty bad. I think my dad deserves to win this one for sure. But I'm very surprised today how well we've been doing. And I know most people haven't really raced this map. This is my first time seeing the map. So I'll probably be a little bit more cautious on this one and just try to hold one of those podium spots. So we'll see.
All I can say is be careful, don't crash, and have fun as the racing begins now. Top 3 currently is Frank, Jennifer, Nigel. Moti's further back. Sorry, I'm looking over here. I've got the scoreboard. Ben, Luis, Aaron. From the 2 weeks of racing here in the bracketed session, it will come to a close in the racing here on Lakeview Lanes. It's been amazing, it's been fun, and this will also mark the beginning of week 3. Who wants to close out week 2 in fashion? Nigel with wind at his back. I think he's learned from his previous attempts at this course, understanding that the early separation makes a difference. How technical. Oh, Jennifer just reaches over and goes in front of Nigel. But with how technical this course is and how the course moves left and right, you've really got to be out in the front and choosing your own lane. Vanessa Murahan is in the racing, but she goes down. Ben Shuilong on the right. Jeff Rooney with an ecstatic performance today as well. You've got to give a shout out to Jeff Rooney as he's in the front and races. Couldn't be on the VMix broadcast today, but I believe he is broadcasting in the game. Frank on the right here. He is sitting next to the Cognition riders. I think he's trying to force out a mistake here perhaps, or just resting up his legs, because with how the course unfolds, you never quite know when there's going to be an obstacle in your way. Is it going to be on the inside 2 lanes? Is it going to be on the outside 2 lanes? Those are decisions you've got to make. Aaron Starlin down in 10th. He is fighting to get on through as well. He sits with Homer Thompson, but it's still pretty much all together here at the front as the riders fight through and try and get into... Oh, Luis Soberanis. Oh, Nigel as well. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, Nigel. All you had to do was stay upright, and Nigel has just given up. Thrown in the towel, not having it. Let's get a word. I want to get a live word from Nigel. Nigel, I'm so devastated. What happened? Oh, you're muted, Nigel. Oh, I think Nigel may have just accidentally unclipped his microphone as he went to talk. I can see no audio coming through. Oh, there you go, Nigel.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at my map and I thought there was 3 clear lanes there. I thought, well, I'm okay, but I should put my glasses on so I can see.
I know that feeling, Nigel. Oh, I'm so sorry. You got a chance. Make it up. Come on. Everything you've got. Last 8 kilometers, and that can be it for the day. You've started your day well, but absolute heartbreak once more for Nigel Doyle of CCC. Fan favorite here in the stream. Absolutely love the man of a 1,000 head shakes. That'll be another one to add to the bank. As Frank and Jennifer, they're planning, they're scheming, they're making strategies here because Frank is on the front, but Ben, Moti, they've got to be careful. Ooh, Frank getting close to the edge there. They've got to be careful of Moti because Moti has a chance of winning here. If he wins this race, as Jennifer uses Racer's Edge, she's using one of her power-ups. You get 1 Racer's Edge, 1 wind at your back, and 1 corner caper. And she's trying to pull a Quinton Molyneux here, attack from far out and go on her own. But at 193, I'm not sure she understands what she signed up for here because this is going to be a world of suffering for the next 7.3 kilometers. Perhaps they're trying to get Frank to bridge across, or he's going to play the enforcer further back because Moti is a big threat. Ben Shuilong is a threat. But the way the scoreboard is looking, Frank Garcia and Jennifer Garcia occupying first and second. And how? Because Frank right now is the big determinator on how this now plays out. He has to keep an eye out. He's boxed in though. If his goal was to keep Moti at bay, he was boxed in by Jeff and Ben. I think he notices it. You see him accelerate. He's aware of the corner speed. He doesn't want to fly on through. And what Moti has to do now is not let Frank Garcia get back in. And look at his face. He knows this exact same thing. And he's got to be careful. Anyone else going to get caught out by the rails? No. Moti digs in. He gets back on the wheel of Jennifer Garcia. Or does he? He's been here before, but now he's got to commit, I think. He's got to be careful. No, he sits up. He understands the name of the game. It looks like CVRcade is setting up for a victory here for Jennifer Garcia with Frank allowing them through here. Ooh! Moti just getting on through as we look back. Ben Shuilog. Oh, we get flashbacks. Cognition on the front once more. He's chasing that blue jersey off the back. He's got to get in. He's got to get on the wheel and suck as much of the draft as he possibly can as he fights on through here. The yellow jersey sitting on the wheel. Now he's getting the drafting percentages, making it an easier ride. And if you run through the podium, Moti right now, if he wins this and Jennifer finishes 5th, he's going to go on to win the Omnium. So anything can change. Lakeview Lanes has really been a spanner in the works. It's really been that difference maker, and it's been the X factor. And now you're watching Mochi Bikelny getting the golden bosser on the front, but he's got to keep it up because the 16-point differential is what makes the difference. And Frank is in 2nd position. He's chasing away in the breakaway. Frank is now in a cover mode. Jennifer goes down. There is the opportunity. The crash, overlap of wheels. Does she have enough left? She's already been a 196 equalized heart rate. She uses wind at her back. But look at the speed differential. It's 8 seconds up to Ben. She is in a world of hurt, and this is going to be difficult. What is Frank going to do on the front? Is he going to try and slow things down to let Jennifer back? No, he uses this moment of chaos to attack away. He sees that Moti is suffering and feeling it, and he goes over the top. He wants this victory as badly as anyone else. There's no gifts in cycling, and now we watch the 2 heavyweights really duke it out on the front, jab for jab. Look, they're both really digging in here, understanding that at any moment the elastic can snap and you've got to get on it. I gotta commend the fighting spirit of Moti Bikelny. He's got heart, he's fighting on through it, and to be in this position, 2 Omniums in with a back that hurts, that is not easy. Jeff Rooney as well, as we watch Ben Shuilong in 4th with Jeff Rooney. They've got to make a coalition between them. Can they form an alliance to get back on terms with the front group? Because currently, Frank Garcia. So I think it comes down to whoever wins between Frank and Moti currently on the front wins the Omnium. Because if Moti wins and Frank gets 2nd, I think Moti's bonus points are enough. It's a 20-point swing, whoever finishes at the top. Further back, you see Jennifer in 5th. Cadence is coming down. She is struggling. She's fighting with it. Louise down in 6th place, standing up, just emptying the tank, wanting to start the day off in a good way. Nigel Doyle with the crash. You heard what he said, thinking there was 3 lanes. Well, there was only 2. You can have a good race, but when one bad crash, gotta love Nigel. But yes, we look at the math. So Moti would get 16 points. No, it would not be enough. Moti would need support. Frank would still win the Omnium by 8 points if Moti wins this. So Moti needs to come up with a strategy here, because not only does he need to win win the stage to win the Omnium, he needs Frank to finish 3rd. Is he willing to risk it all to win it all? Or is he satisfied with a stage win? It's not really been his day, but it can change in the blink of an eye. If he wins the Omnium and Frank finishes 3rd, I think Moti takes it on bonus point here in Zone L on a Saturday. But it's tough. The math in your head. You've got to have somebody who does it on the fly. Is this where Luis Sobranis is looking at the scoreboard saying, hey, Chief, hey, Captain, all you got to do is winning is not enough here. Even with the 16 points, Frank has amassed so many points across all the racing that you need him to finish 3rd. And we watch the cat and mouse continue, because Frank understands that he just needs to continue the pace. If he finishes top 2, that's enough. He is just riding a time trial from here on out. Can I ride Moti off my wheel? Can I continue the pacing? Can I continue the pressure here? And I will win not only the stage perhaps, but also the Omnium. And the stages are really important for these riders, but what gets discussed, what gets put on CVRcade Riders Forum is the winner of the Omnium. And they know this. They do know this, and that's why you see them push so hard as Moti gets on the wheel of Frank. And he rests up for a tiny bit, hoping and praying that Ben Shuilong gets back. That is his hope to really shake up the top 3. But Frank continues at 187 equalized heart rate. What does Ben have left? Once more, he's going here. Perhaps this is where Ben is saying, well, Cognition, you shouldn't have ridden so goddamn hard in Zone K. You should have rested up. You should have let me get back. And now Frank with Racer's Edge, and when that is back, this could be the killer blow. This could be the knockout punch. This could be checkmate. What does Moti have left here as these 2 riders are both using their power-ups as they're pushing everything they've got at this point? Frank uses corner caber, goes safely on through. Moti uses his corner caber as well. And so with the Omnium pouch out of reach, they're still racing for the stage win. Frank's at 193, Moti at 178, and he comes on through here as he progresses on. Now he's going to fight on. He's got a gap, and he's going to try and push it. This is his opportunity, and you see him just pushing away. Frank looks on over, catches his breath, further back down. Ben Shuilong also with his win that is back. It's the last lap on Lakeview Lanes. It's the last lap of racing in the 2nd week of the first ever CVRcade World Cup bracketed session. They've raced their hearts out. They've raced, they've suffered, they've shared tears, they've laughed, they've blit, and now it comes down to the last 2 kilometers. Last lap. Ben is fighting on through, but 20 seconds is the difference. Frank is going to settle in, and I think Frank, what he's going to do now is look to just keep a higher pace than Ben. He understands that his closest competitor is not ahead of him, but behind him. So now he looks at Ben, he looks at the speed Ben's doing, and just matches it. As long as he doesn't crash, as long as he matches Ben's speed, he's in an Omnium winning position. Meanwhile, Moti has just got to ride as hard as he can. Finish the stage, win it, and hope, pray that somebody else behind him makes a play. Luis is tired, but Moti wants to walk away with a stage win, and that it looks like he will get as the gap to Frank is opening out. This is a relatively fresh Frank Garcia versus a Moti Bikelny who has suffered in the previous Omnium, and now he's suffering again. And you can see 2 different objectives at stake here, and with almost 1 kilometer remaining, Moti is fighting. He's pushing everything out there. And I can only imagine the feast he's going to have to refuel after this race, after this zone is over. But if you're enjoying this, if you found yourself enjoying the broadcast, make sure to click that follow button down below. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching the highlights, well, this is CVRcade. Go to CVRcade.com. You too can be in the broadcast. You too can be racing for money. You too can be a star in the CVRcade World Cup like Moti and Frank Garcia. And now we go back and we look at Ben Shuey along in third. He's chucking away. He's fighting. He's had 2 zones of racing. And you can see him passing in the obstacles. He wants to keep Lewis behind him. He wants to keep Homer. There is some pride on the line. Provisionally, he's a preliminary. He's third on the podium. He's 4 points ahead of Jennifer. But Jennifer will get the bonus points for preferred zone. Nigel further back. Louise further back. 700 meters remain. Moti has come down here, but that doesn't mean he's stopped fighting. You can see how tense the shoulders are. The arms are tense. He's really just trying now to finish it off. He wants the hurt to end. He wants the suffering to come to a stand. Get off the bike and just finish it off. Now, 500 meters left. He's got a right-hander, and that's about it here in Lakeview Lanes. The first day ever it's been raced in the CVRcade World Cup. We see a smile from Moti Pikelny as he realizes as he's on the finishing stretch. This is where we saw a big celebration from Quinton Molyneux. Ben is making inwards on Frank, but it's not enough. 20 seconds. Moti has opened up the gap here in Lakeview Lanes. Tip my hat. Great effort. Further back, we do see Luis. We'll cut to him in a second as we catch Moti's reaction. Luis, though, is fighting to get back onto Ben. Frank's in second place, but Moti has earned this moment of fame, this moment of enjoyment, hands above his heads as Cognition takes the victory. But Frank Garcia, the winner of the Omnium as it stands, I believe. Of course, this is all standing all awaiting official results on cycle data, but with his second place, I believe Frank takes zone L tonight here on this Saturday. Secondary positions, Ben Shuey long, Luis Sobraniz got close to him, but now, just like Alberto Contador, Ben Shuey long is dancing on those pedals. He can be proud of that one. Luis Sobraniz, you're all winners tonight. Exercise all around, champions. Jennifer Garcia, head down, but spirits, I still think they can be high. Good racing, good efforts, good, especially that second race on Submerged Stadium. But we'll be back to the drawing board, scale down some of the crashes, have a look at some of the courses, and that's taking that step up on the podium as she comes in 6th place. Nigel Doyle will be in 7th with Aaron Starlin, who shot out of a cannon in the first race, lit a smile on everybody's face. Nigel Doyle, congratulations, man. Good finish and good racing today. Smile on his face. Let's have a look at the instant replay. Moti Pikelny, what he did there was incredible. So he just rode Frank off his wheel. I think Frank realized that all he needed to do was beat 3rd place, so he let him go somewhat. But to get to that point, Moti worked hard, and the suffering and the intensity that was on display, I'm not sure if he even caught a single breath for that final 2 laps as he kept digging deeper and digging deeper. The victory that Cognition had been alluding to today, Moti Pikelny does take the victory and moves up in the standings at the end. I think he does end up taking a 2nd place. So all in all, Moti, was that a good day of racing?
Oh, that was incredible. It was great. I really was worried that Frank and Jenna were going to pull off what they did on the second race there. So we had to try to keep things closer at the beginning and stay on Frank's wheel. You know, the math worked out that even finishing ahead of him, I wasn't going to take him for the overall. And I would have needed to try to slow down or not cooperate and bring Ben back to try to get past Frank. But if I did that, I would run the real risk of Ben passing me and finishing even lower. So I cut my losses and did my best Quinton Molyneux in impression by trying to stay away at the end. But Frank wasn't putting much pressure. He just knew he had to hold the gap. You know, I think had he needed to, he could have stayed with me and probably beat me at the end. I'm exhausted. Those were 2 real intense omniums, but I'll take 2nd place. That was real tough.
Fantastic racing, Moti. I'm happy for you and Cognition. You came out to show today and you really put on a display of great entertainment. Thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day here on your Saturday. Frank Garcia, that breakaway with Moti. Moti, you heard him say he think you just let go. You could have followed him. Was that the case? Did you look back and realize the standings?
Yeah, we have the standings up next to us. I think when we got 2 away, I think Monty tried to slow down a little bit, maybe see Ben wasn't too far back, but every time you do that, I just go to the front and pull. I just needed to keep Ben off of us. And then at that point, Moti decided, hey, I'll just work with you. And, sort of CVRcade etiquette would be, I'm going to win the Omnium. You can have the stage for sure. Good day for the CVRcade team. Jenna did really, really well. Just needs to practice up a little bit on the high skill courses, and I think she's going to be really difficult to contend with. So a lot of fun racing with my daughter today.
Final words from Ben Shuey Long, the nearly man on Lakeview Lanes. Ben, are you tired of being like 3rd place, almost getting back in, but there's always that 1 rider, 2 riders ahead of you on Lakeview Lanes?
I'm a bit tired of always coming 3rd or 5th or 4th on the Omnium. But today, considering there's a second zone, I'm pretty pleased with the performance. I don't know. I always race it better second time around. I don't know if it's just having practiced the courses, just moments before. I don't know what it is, but fair play. Motti is always strong, and Frank too. He's always animating the races. So fair play, but I'm pleased. I think the strength is coming back. I've been a bit ill, so look forward to next week.
So do I, Ben. So do I. I think there's also a big confidence factor. When you come into the second race, there's less pressure on you, there's less expectations, and so sometimes you perform better. Let's have a look at all the replays or all the highlights, as we've had 2 brilliant zones of racing. Zone K was up first. Quentin Molinez, Moti P. Kilney here, applying the pressure on each other on Echelon. The story here was quite interesting, as numbers were on display. The favorable position was Cognition in here with Luis Soberanis, with Moti P. Kilney, and with Sebastian Kuhn. But the sprint coming down to the end, it was Sebastian, it was Jeff taking the top spots. Then today, we debuted new tracks. Submerged Stadium and Lakeview Lanes made their debut into the racing pool. I gotta say, they are a massive success. I especially cannot wait to see Submerged Stadium raced as a high skill event, because the way that it was raced today, well, I guess both, even low skill and high skill, because we got to see both scenarios, and with the racing at hand, it was very tactical, it was very cycling-esque, it was very good gameplay, as all these new nuances. I will never forget Quinton slowing down Moti actively while he's got his power up, and then using his afterwards. That is next level strategy. That is these sort of nuances. Like, the cake is just getting taller and taller and taller every day as riders are learning new strategies, as money is on the line. You're forced to do your homework, and Submerged Stadium really allowed for that, as we here watch the sprint between Ben and Sebastian. And Ben was in a race-winning position, but how about the Glitter Queen? Beth York. Everybody take a seat. She has entered the building. She has been incredible today. Zone E and Zone K. She did falter a bit under the pressure, but I imagine the fatigue would also be quite heavily. And then Ben and Nigel. Some words will be shared there, as Nigel forces a mistake out of his teammate Ben. A good stat measurement I would love to have in Cade Racing is forced errors or unforced errors, because mistakes and plays, different names for the same things, are really what make the racing. There Beth tries to change the lane into Quinton. She finds that there's no room. Then you've got Quinton Molinez trying to force a mistake, and that's really the name of the game. When you're so good and the competition is increasing and increasing and increasing, it comes down to whether or not you can force mistakes out of your competitors, and that's where the pressure, that really the realization realization of thinking, okay, if I do this, then X, Y, and Z will happen as we catch the sprint finish on Country Rally. I'm excited to see so many riders getting better and better at it. Frank and Quinton did well today. Carl Axel Sander, also a name worth mentioning here in the CVRcade World Cup. And we had Lakeview Lanes. First race up, Beth York goes down early. This is where they were trying to set up Sebastian Kuhn for the win. And it was fun to see Cognition line up here as an early crash takes down both Moti and Luis. There's a smile on Moti's face, but I think behind those eyes he's like, what just happened? How did we both go down as Cognition find themselves by the side of the road? Same for Nigel. I always love that Nigel goes, what? No, that wasn't supposed to happen. Then 5 seconds later, he's like, oh, yeah, I made a mistake. That's racing. That's the emotions. That's how it usually unfolds. You think, I couldn't possibly have made that mistake. But then when you have a closer look, you take a bit of a distance from it, you realize, as we see, speaking of mistakes, Sebastian Kuhn not using his corner caper in this corner. He goes through the corner with too much speed and falls down. Quinton Molinez, tip my hat. Not only did he race brilliantly in Zone E this morning, here in Zone K, outnumbered, but in the end, that didn't mean a thing. He rode everyone off his wheel, and he got time to celebrate the victory as he wins the Omnium and he wins the stage. 2 for 2 for Team Cycling Hub, but it wasn't going to be 3 for 3 as other riders had other plans. Aaron Starlin, the highlight of the bracketed session so far. This one measured a 10 on the Richter scale. The entire room, I think I could feel on this side of the pond. He let go of the group, and as the turbine was winding up, everybody had their seatbelt on. The tray's in upwards position, and then the plane just takes off. Unfortunately, you had competing airlines just catching up before the end, aka Moti and Frank. I think that the difference between winning that or not winning that is possibly less than a second, like the timing wise. Then great teamwork on display here. Jennifer Garcia, Frank Garcia putting on a clinic in how to do a 2-up team time trial. And also, the big takeaway is, this is how you do not let a third rider back. You sacrifice your power-ups to increase the pressure. Now, I know you're getting tired of that word, but it makes such a big difference. You're seeing Frank and Jennifer using their power-ups earlier on to just ride Moti out of the picture. Moti, he gave them kudos. He said, I just couldn't get back on. I got ever so close, but it wasn't meant to be. As Nigel and Ben enjoying their time at the concession stands, and when it came to play, they wanted mustard on their hot dogs. Jennifer Garcia wins a submerged stadium, making it 2 wins for Beth today and 1 for Jennifer Garcia on submerged stadium, and that has made a great debut into the racing. We race again on Tuesday. More racing is coming up on Tuesday with Zone K, L, and T. And I cannot wait to watch the racing because we're coming in to the point where the seeding is getting finalized. We're going to find out just exactly how the tournament is going to unfold in week 4. What the seedings do, what they matter, and who's going to take that $3,000 prize purse at the top of winning the Elite Series Omnium finish. Country Rally once more, great show here by Frank. Early attacks, takes the victory on Country Rally in front of the other riders. Nigel in second. Moti and Luis saving their power-ups late, allowing them to go on the inside here and choose the inside lane here on Country Rally. Good racing, a course that always provides for some excellent entertainment here on your Saturday evening as Frank's celebration is on the screen. And now, Lakeview Lanes. Nigel Doyle, heartbreak once more as he thinks there's a lane, but there isn't, and that is the difference maker. Thinking, knowing, doing, as well as Luis Sobranese takes a tumble. But that's all the racing you saw today. Zones K and Zones L. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to click that follow button down below. We go live every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday. You get an email notification every time we go live. Never miss out on another CVRcade World Cup race. If you want to join in on the action, you can head to CVRcade.com. Sign up today. It's free to play, and you can jump on and race with Moti, race with Frank, race with Jennifer, wherever else is your fan favorite. Start today, CVRcade.com. But until Tuesday, Tuesday. It's been all from us here at the CVRcade production team. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marbles. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.